Live from the bunker, deep in the heart of the Ozarks. Coming to you with pop culture, only pop culture, and just pop culture. It's Aaron, Danae, and Josh on SiftPop.
Good. That was so good.
Thank you.
The Critic, the Geek, and the Girl. Whoa, I don't know why I did that. I think I was trying to one-up you, but I can't.
You did a good job. No,
voice.
I thought that was fine.
Nothing can top that voice.
I don't. It's just a voice. You just lower your register. Go ahead.
Live.
You've got to come through the throat.
Bunker.
Live from the bunker. All of a sudden, I want to get you a Scooby snack.
So,
I don't know.
You know how,
I don't know what that is.
When your range is too high, your voice cracks?
Yes.
Opposite for me.
That's
when
nice.
It's too low, the voice cracks.
That's nice. You do a lot of voices, though. You are a mimicker.
I am a mimicker.
So, in fact, we were just the other day, you mimicked one of my boys, and they said, stop making fun of me. And you said you get that all the time. People think you're making fun of them because you like to imitate voices.
I do it without thinking about it. I love the way... I love sound. Just different sounds, whether it's a musical instrument... or something that I hear in nature, or a human voice.
Yeah.
It's instinctive. I instinctively want to try to see if I can recreate it with my own vocal cords.
Yeah.
And people do misunderstand that
How do you handle
making
that
fun of them.
when somebody thinks you're making fun of them?
I immediately meet them right there in that moment and say, I am not trying to make fun of you. I am
You apologize
so sorry.
to them? Do you apologize to them in their
absolutely.
own voice?
No, that is the wrong moment to do that.
You ready to shoot a dough?
I'm ready to shoot a dough.
Yeah, we're going to talk Terminator Genisys today, and the SiftPop happens every Friday at noon. If you're listening on podcast, you can join us live. If you're listening live, you can download it later as a podcast. Either way works. It is live or later. And this show is hosted by the Critic, the Geek, and the Girl.
The Critic is Aaron Dicer, who is actually a movie critic. The Geek, we have a special guest, Josh Childs, joining us today. Hi, Josh.
Hi.
And the girl is me, because I'm a girl.
Yes, that's exactly how it works. Josh is from the YouTube channel The Nether Region, also involved in many other projects. Anything you want to talk about right here at the top so people kind of know where to find you and know who you are?
Yeah, you can come to our at Nether_region on Twitter. We've got our YouTube channel, The Nether Region, which has a lot of great stuff on there, but nothing new because we are still working. As I mentioned last time, we're working on something top secret right now. So
he won't tell us what it is. We don't.
I won't tell anybody, not yet. And then also I'm part of a thing called the Jeff Durham Show, and you can find us on Twitter, on YouTube as well. But it is a half-hour, real-time improv comedy show. But
very, very cool. Well, we are pleased to have you back on. We love having you on as our geek for these, and we're going to talk a little bit of Terminator Genisys. Welcome to those who are joining us in the live chat. I see Humberto in there and Bonnie and some others. Some of you are joining us from other places, like I know the show streams from our website, so you may be listening there. That's great as well. If you're listening there, we don't see your name. So,
we can't say hi in person.
We can't say hi in person to you, but if you listen on Mixlr and sign in on Mixlr and do the chat thing there, then we kind of interact that way. So thanks for doing that. So you guys ready to talk some Terminator Genisys?
Terminator Genisys.
Genisys with a Y in there somewhere?
Genisys. It's the British spelling.
Is that what it is? Well,
that suddenly makes this movie make so much sense.
I think we'll have to see if we find favor with an OUR with this movie.
So just a heads up, as you're listening to this movie review of Terminator Genisys, we try our best not to movie spoil, and if we do decide to go into some detail that we think might give away plot lines for you, we try to give you a little bit of a heads up.
I wouldn't worry about that with this one. I would like for somebody to spoil me, and I've seen the movie. So if somebody could tell me what happens at the end, I'd appreciate it.
Also, this movie's hard to talk about without spoilers.
Yeah,
because it's so it's so specific. The issues are so specific.
Yeah, we will do our best to make sure if you choose to go to this movie, you have a good movie going experience. We are a little looser on these longer form shows like SiftPop with the spoiler thing. It will sneak in every once in a while now, but we do our best to make sure we give you
Yeah,
as pure an experience as possible.
You said doo-doo.
You said doo-doo. And we're off.
Thanks, Josh. Thanks. I appreciate that. So Terminator Genisys is the 5th movie in the Terminator franchise, following James Cameron's seminal film Terminator in 1984, and then T2 was, I think, 1991, and then after that was Terminator Rise of the Machines, Terminator 3 Rise of the Machines, and Terminator Salvation, and I don't remember exactly when those happened, but I know Christian Bale was in one of them.
Wasn't there like a live Broadway show too?
No,
No.
but there was a TV show for a while,
Yeah.
the Sarah Connor Chronicles.
There was a it's Terminator the Second. It's a Shakespeare version. It's an Elizabethan version of Terminator 2.
That makes
was
a lot of
stage
sense.
version.
It makes
You're
a lot of sense.
you're absolutely right. There was a stage version of it.
And watching Shakespeare seems, on the nose compared to watching Terminator. It's a lot easier to figure out the bard than it is what's going on in this movie. What's that?
Convoluted. Yeah, a little convoluted.
A little.
Yeah,
Just
a
a little bit.
little bit.
Not just convoluted, but they gave all of the hard words and technical words and exposition to Arnold Schwarzenegger.
That is true. That
It
is
was
true.
hard to follow him because he could, him saying cellular on a cellular level.
On a cellular.
So what's happening is we call the Nexus, and when the Nexus on the cellular level. Yeah, that was the whole movie.
That was good.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I appreciate it. Anytime I get a chance to do an Arnold. So let's speak in generalities to start off with, at least. Josh, we're going to start with you. Coming out of this movie, how did you feel? Did you like it overall? Did you not like it overall? What do you think?
Generally speaking, we'll get into specifics, but generally speaking, it was about what I expected.
Okay.
So it was not a good movie, but I was not prepared for a great movie. So I was able to find moments that I enjoyed in the overall process.
Okay. Danae, what do you think?
That's my general.
Sure.
I think I'm the same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was not expecting much, but I was still disappointed. Like I still came away thinking that's a bad movie, overall. Not one I can recommend even to like a Terminator fan in my opinion. And maybe this
especially not a Terminator fan.
Right,
actually.
exactly. And I think that's the most disappointing part of it is, and Danae had never seen any of the Terminator movies.
I want to talk about this.
Why don't you go ahead? Yeah, go ahead and talk about that experience.
Well, having never seen any Terminator from, any of the previous movies, I asked my friends on Facebook if I should see the originals before I went into this one. And I am so thankful they said yes, because I watched the original Terminator in the morning, and then we went to go see the movie in the afternoon. I was like hours fresh into this world when I watched Genisys. And I think I would have been so confused. I mean, the movie is confusing because, as Aaron said, it folds in on itself. Like, I was trying to come up with some words for it. So it kind of like, it references itself a lot.
It's recursive.
You really
Nice.
probably should know Terminator lore, I guess, going in. They do explain some of it as you go on, but I was really glad to have like that baseline. But yeah, that was a really interesting experience because I had just been introduced to this entire world, and then I watched most of the second one before we went into the movie. So then I went in for and experienced, Genisys. So,
and that experience helps, especially when a movie like this is so referential of those other movies.
Because I had just watched the original Terminator, when this movie starts off, there are some like, tit for tat scenes where it's the exact same. Like because I had just watched the original, I was like, are we remaking this movie exactly? Because the exact same dump truck, the exact same look, on the guy. The guy has the exact same, cigar in his mouth. And then there's the exact same homeless guy. Like the whole thing is so similar. But it was like this new revamp where we've added in modern technology for filmmaking. And so we're able to, amplify some of what they couldn't do in 84. So I kind of got excited. I was like, oh, we're going to see some really cool robots.
Yeah.
And we do see some really cool robots. But the unfortunate part is the rest of it, like as far as the plot and things like that, it just doesn't work.
Well, I got excited. I actually got excited when this movie started and we were seeing the original from a different perspective. As it's getting started, I'm like, ooh, this is a movie I'm interested in seeing. I'm interested in seeing this movie from Kyle Reese's perspective as opposed to Sarah Connor's.
Yeah.
And it reminded me of, I don't know if you ever saw Lion King 1.5, but it's basically the story of the Lion King as told through Timon and Pumbaa's perspective.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is going to be like Terminator 1.5. Like, this is going to be so much fun.
Yeah.
And then
then suddenly no.
Then within seconds, it was gone.
Yep.
And it was doing all this this other stuff that was incomprehensible and often moronic.
So there's something that's done in this movie, and maybe I'm going beyond from general conversation into some specifics.
No, you're good.
Now.
I think we all covered our general.
X-Men as an example. So X-Men has its storyline, and all the audiences are following along, and we have character deaths, and then all of a sudden a new X-Men comes along, and it kind of just completely eliminates an entire possible storyline and starts.
We would
go
back probably to Star Trek first.
J.J. Abrams' Star Trek very much did that. Yeah.
Yeah, the good examples. Okay, where they did a great job in the movie. Where we're back in this world, and even though we're, changing some things, we're in it. Terminator does not do that well. Terminator, they were going to go back in and revamp something, and the plot line of this is so complex in some ways and then missing so much in other ways that I didn't walk away going, yeah, I want to see the next one. I went away walking, this entire movie was a setup for the next one.
Yeah.
And so it was very disappointing. And I don't know if I'm more disappointed in it because I just watched the original. So it's kind of like, ooh, this is an interesting world. Oh, okay, I get it. I mean, I've seen the iconic pictures. I've seen the iconic, moments. And that's been part
Everybody knows I'll be back. Everybody knows Come With Me If You Want to Live.
And I know what the robot looks like. Like, I've seen that. But I had never really got into the world of what's going on. And so I thought, oh, we can really give some depth to this entire world. And that is not what happened. So
I'll say that I don't know what the time in it was, but it was the first act, maybe 30, maybe 40 minutes. I was still in it completely. And I don't think this is a spoiler because it is all first act sort of stuff, but they managed to weave together all the plots from the first movies.
Right.
Like it's not just like nods at like winks at I'll be back and come with me if you want to live. Like actual plot, like the character relationship between Sarah Connor and the Terminator is basically John Connor and the Terminator's relationship in Terminator 2. It's that same sort of patriarchal mentor, protector, and then this the obvious things to number one. So it was play, and then so mainly the first two. But I was like, this is cool, and I was even cool that when they were done with that, they're like, yeah, this is all this crazy stuff that's just spinning us into the real story, which is the second act. When things escalate.
Right.
But at that first act, you're seeing multiple different versions of Terminators, multiple like all this great stuff. I'm like, holy crap, this is going to be a fun ride.
I agree.
And then they're like, well, now we're done with that. Let's get on to the other story, which is something that you've all seen a million times already. And
it felt pieced together in that way. It felt like they had a story they wanted to tell from 2017 or whatever, and so they just had to find a way to get there.
So let's talk about that just a little bit. Let's so for those of you who haven't seen it, going to give it a little bit of a general idea, get some more specifics. So in the original Terminator, you've got Arnold Schwarzenegger's character is the bad guy. And then in the second one, he's actually sent back as the protector. And there's been a new Terminator that's been sent, right?
I got a chance to watch the first part of Terminator 2 with you and watch you experience, like, wait a second. It was interesting to watch you because you have the cultural revelation that Arnold is the good guy. Like, you kind of had in your mind that that he was supposed to be the good guy.
Well, in the first one, I was like, "Oh, look, Arnold's here,"
Uh-huh.
And then I'm like, "Oh, he is not good, guys. He is murdering people. He is a bad guy." And then in the second one, he appears, and I'm just like, "Uh-oh,"
Mm-hmm.
But they're playing bad to the bone when he arrives, and I'm like, "Why are they making him personal and giving him
Mm-hmm.
like personality whenever he's this killer robot?" So that scene when John Connor as a kid is running down the hallway behind the arcade, and the police guy comes out and Arnold comes out. I'm thinking the police guy is going to protect little John Connor, but it flips on me, and I didn't expect that. So yeah, you were sitting there whenever I watched it.
It's interesting to see somebody interact with that, 20 years after it was made. It's like,
yeah, I'm a little late.
It still works,
I'm a little late,
but it still works.
So in this one, what they do in Terminator Genisys, what they do is they take each character and they really change it up again, and then they attempt to explain why this character has a totally new set of expectations, which, as Josh, you were saying at the very beginning, it was kind of fun. It was like, ooh, they're playing along. Things have been changed in the timeline, so you think that you know how this movie is going to start because you've seen Terminator 1, but it's not starting that way.
Yeah, and it felt like it was done by people who love the Terminator franchise, not people who are trying to mess it up, but like actual fans of the franchise.
And then they gave that plot line to a whole bunch of time travel geeks, and then things get really strange. So
Oh no. I think they gave those things to Terminator geeks who don't understand anything about time travel and just made stuff up.
So in this film, what happens is if the Terminator, there's, I guess,
are you about to really try to explain this? Because I would love to hear this.
So when we first see the Terminator, we're watching basically the first movie. When you're sitting down in Genisys, you're watching this first movie unfold, but you're seeing it from the perspective of Kyle Reese, who is up there storming the gates, and Terminator is sent back in time to go kill Sarah, just like we know, and then when they get to this, like machine, so you're seeing the relationship between John Connor and, Kyle Reese, which is really cool. It's kind of alluded to in the first movie as this really great person. And now you're seeing this relationship and you're seeing them talk to each other. It was really neat. I loved that. And then they're going to send Kyle Reese back in time to save Sarah. And then right at this moment is when things begin to shift, and a Terminator appears to kill John Connor right in that moment. And so when Kyle Reese is sent back in time to save Sarah, things are different. So he arrives in a timeline that has now been altered. And we're beginning to see, like, there's Terminators where they weren't supposed to be. And when Arnold's character shows up to, like, the punks, he's walking over to him. He's all naked. He's walking over to him, and he's going to, like, kill him just like we saw in the first movie. All of a sudden, old Arnold Schwarzenegger shows up. Old, was it T-800?
By now, we just need, like, spoiler flashing in red on this podcast somewhere.
No, we're still only like 20 minutes into the movie.
This is all stuff that you see in the previews.
Yes.
All this stuff is stuff you see in the previews. So this is where you realize, okay,
See, I wouldn't know that. I haven't seen the previews. So.
There's two Arnolds.
We're going to talk about that in a second.
One from the 80s, one from whatever year it is now, like, and you're like, what is going on? Why are they battling each other? And then everything kind of just starts to go from there as to
here's my thing.
What is happening?
From now on out, when people ask me why I don't like time travel movies,
it's because of what I just tried to do.
No, I'm just going to say Terminator. It's just going to be a one-word answer. I'm just going to say Terminator, because Terminator is the perfect example of why it's so difficult to make a congruent time travel movie, especially when you want to make 5 in a row of them. Like, it's just, it's like you tell your kids, if you tell a lie, you're going to end up telling 5 more to back up that lie, and then 5 more for each of those lies. That's how time travel works. You have to explain one thing in time travel, and then if you make another movie, you have to explain that thing plus 5 other things, and then each thing needs its own, understanding.
Because at some point, you have to throw out your understanding of Terminator and just go with this movie. You really do.
I'm a little disturbed that you just don't like time travel movies.
Aaron, you should talk about that just a little bit.
That's bothersome.
Okay, so I'm more than open to you throwing some time travel movies at me, but there is one time travel movie I love, and it is 12 Monkeys.
I thought you were going to say Land Before Time, but that's not time travel. Okay, go ahead.
No. 12 Monkeys is the one time travel movie that has the guts to say that everything is set and yet still tell a very compelling story in a very compelling way. So because if time travel can change things, everything gets way too recursive and paradoxical for my brain to not be distracted.
This movie gave Aaron a migraine.
I gotcha.
It literally did. I literally came home with a migraine.
He really did.
Well, this movie is, as far as concentration of time travel on a time travel movie, this is a master's class because there is a lot. I mean, there really is a lot of stuff going on. And like I said before, Schwarzenegger's the one explaining everything, and it's hard to follow. And even walking away, there was some stuff at the end that I still was like, wait, how does that work? How is that true?
Yeah, I'm with you on that.
know?
Well, in every
Not
movie,
necessarily time travel related, but some of it was.
Yeah.
and it seems like every time travel story now has that moment where somebody in the story goes, it doesn't make sense, just go with it. Like Looper had that scene between, Bruce Willis or whatever, where it's like, quit thinking about it and just,
go with it.
And J.K. Simmons had some stuff like that in this one where I know what you're going through must be complex. We're trying to save the world. I can go with that. It's like
He was my favorite character.
He was, well, yeah, he's great.
He was
should
my
be in
favorite
every movie
character.
ever made.
I will say, we're talking a lot about like the complexity of the time travel, and that wasn't enjoyable, and some of the plot really just was unfortunate. It had a lot of potential, I thought. In the first act, I was really excited.
Yeah.
But I did think, just going straight in for movie, just watching a movie, there are a couple things I really loved. I really liked the new Sarah Connor. I thought she did a great job. I thought she was fun to watch. I love that she's a short chick. There's a moment when you can clearly see the heights of each of the people that are, we're looking at.
Yeah, it was.
And she's
the characters, not the actors, by the way.
Yeah.
There's no way Schwarzenegger is 6'4", but whatever.
Really?
Yes, he's not.
He's not a tall guy.
Really?
He's not a tall man, no.
He's just built.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that is true. See, that's me. I believe things too quickly. I love that.
But she probably really was that short.
She's short in stature. When she walks, I can tell. I'm like, yeah, short girl on film. Woo! So I liked that. But anyways, besides her height, she did a great job acting. I think she did a really good job in that. I don't. There was a couple of things I didn't like from time to time. I mean, we won't comment on Arnold's ability to act at all. I don't think we need to. Okay, let's move on.
Good. I appreciate you moving us away from the major negative, at least from my opinion, which is how convoluted it is, to some of the things we like about the movie, because you're right. There is some good movie making done here. I think the action is shot well.
The action was so fun.
I think the visuals were nice.
Spoiler. There's a helicopter, action scene. I haven't seen a really fun helicopter action scene in a while. It was really fun. It was like, and it was really cool, and it was clean. I watched it in IMAX 3D. It was clean. It was fun. I could follow everything really well. The CG was awesome. Terminator, you gotta expect that they're gonna have, a robot, cool looking robot, and they definitely have an amazing looking robot, and they really do fun stuff. They hit all that fun Terminator stuff you see in all the previous movies, and I saw in 1.5 movies, I should say, and that was really fun. Just the lines that they picked up on it. I don't know. I really had a good time.
Some great stuff going in the comments I wanted to mention. Somebody says, "Ha! Spoiler alert! There's a helicopter."
You should.
Let me just tell you, there's two Terminators, and not say spoiler alert. No, spoiler alert, guys. There's a whirlybird.
There's a helicopter chase.
Yes.
Which actually there's two. So the spoilers, there's two helicopters.
That's right.
In this action movie, of course, like all action movies, there's some completely unbelievable stuff that happens that's also pretty cool.
Yeah.
Like the helicopter chase.
That was pretty amazing.
Josh, you mentioned wanting to talk about the fact that I hadn't seen the trailers to this movie. Why is that interesting to you?
So we've all seen enough movies. We've all been doing this long enough that we all crave surprise in a movie, right? We want to be surprised. We want to be
sure.
And this movie had in the trailer, there's some pretty big spoilers that I would have loved to have witnessed in the real time. And I don't understand. I know they did it on purpose, And I don't know if they were scared that people wouldn't come see the movie unless they thought, oh, look, they're doing something different. But there was, I mean, including the reveal of the main bad guy.
Was in the
like
trailer?
That was in the trailer.
Oh, no.
And
see,
so
I didn't see that.
There was a whole sequence.
Ugh.
I mean, there was like all this tension build that they built into the movie that was wasted on anybody who saw the trailer.
I hate that. That's one of my major pet peeves. I try not to watch the trailers. The ones that I see are really short, and I usually always try to look away super fast.
Or you watch trailers of movies you probably aren't going to see either. Like if we're talking about a movie that you're not going to end up going to watch, you watch the trailer for it so we can kind of have some discussion on your opinions
because
on it.
as always, you can assume a lot about what you see in the trailers. There's only been a couple of times in recent history where they've put in things that weren't even in the movie to attract. I think that'd be such a smart use.
Well, not only that, I thought, like, if it's in the trailer, that's information that they'll throw away or they'll dump early in the movie. So it's exciting, but it's not, like, plot point hinging. And this was plot point hinging. It really bothered. I think I would have at least loved that tension a little more or respected it more had that been the case.
So it's in the trailer that a very certain someone who we're not going to spoil right now is actually the malevolent force behind it. That person?
Not the malevolent force, but the acting force.
The acting force.
Sorry for the code word, everybody.
I mean, I feel like it's in the a lot of times the rule we use, if it's in the trailer, we can talk about it. But I don't want to spoil anybody's experience. Well, I will tell you the scene that I think you're referencing, wanting to have that tension. I had that tension in. I did too. I was wondering.
I did too.
Who is this person? What are their motives?
There were some really good parts.
And the reveal
of this
was a good reveal. I thought it was a decent reveal.
So as we kind of come to a close on our portion of the conversation about Terminator Genisys, would you recommend this film? That's one of the things I wonder.
Yeah, Josh,
I'm gonna say not at the theater where people have to spend money, but. If they want to spend $2 on Redbox, yes. As long as they know what they're getting into.
Yeah, if you know that you're getting into, just an action film that things that shouldn't work, really convenient plot lines, things just open up and like, oh, it's just right here, so we'll do this. If that kind of stuff doesn't bother you, or you like the Terminator series, I would say rent it. But I don't.
Or if you want to see Jack Courtney or Schwarzenegger's butts.
That is true. That is true. Although the original butt was a lot better than this butt. Just so you know.
Thanks, Danae.
No
Your
problem.
perspective on that is much needed. That's why you're the girl.
I had very fresh perspective. I had just watched it, so I had a very clear comparison.
Yes, you did.
Did she say she had a fresh perspective on the
butt? Ew. Don't think about it like that. Would you recommend it?
Aaron, your mom is watching or listening to this, isn't she?
Right? My mom
At some
is.
point. At some point.
Sorry, Mom.
No, I wouldn't even recommend it for Redbox for somebody, especially if you're built like me, where your brain is just going to be so distracted by trying to figure out what's going on that you can't enjoy the movie. And it's unfortunate because, like you said, there is some good movie making going on here. There's just not good storytelling going on here, and especially considering the universe that it lives in, it just folds in on itself too much, and I couldn't recommend it.
I have one thing I want to mention before we move on.
So do I. So you go first.
So I guess.
And Josh, if you've got you've got one thing before we go, you've got your table too.
I do, but I think mine's more of a transition, so it'll be helpful.
Okay, cool. Okay, so my one thing in the first Terminator, there is a part of the film where they, I think it's when he's removing his eyeball, and we see for the first time the animatronic version of Arnold's face.
Mm-hmm.
And
you're talking Terminator
1,
the original.
The original,
the first one. Yeah.
Yes. And when I watched that, of course,
spoiler.
When I watched that, I was like, "Whoa, this is so old school. This is so fun. Like, look at this old tech, right?"
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so in Terminator Genisys, there's a moment when we're seeing, Arnold, 1980 something, and it reminded me of that moment whenever it's like it was like his face, but it was like his young face.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, that is so interesting to see how technology has changed. It's not that they, put in prosthetics or anything. It was just, they took his face and they CG'd it to where he looked like he did when he was this young buck. And that was fascinating to me. And it reminded me of just how far tech has come in the last 20 years. So I just wanted to mention that was kind of a fun thing to witness.
And my brain immediately goes, how far will technology go? Like, they've talked for the last several years about the eventuality where you don't even need the actor, you just need their digital representation.
Yeah,
that
like
it'll be so good that they'll
hologram.
pass that uncanny valley, so to speak, and you'll buy into that as the actual person.
If you do watch it, that part where you're seeing Arnold CG'd up as his young self, glance up to his hairline, you will see gray. It bothered me. Aaron, your turn.
Nice.
Hey, well, Aaron, have you seen the Congress? By the way, speaking of that future of the actors not being needed, just their image or their likeness. There's a movie called The Congress that deals with that. It's really fascinating. It's really trippy. It's part animation actually, but it's got Robin Wright Penn in it. But she plays herself. She sells her image. And you go with her image on the rest of the journey, like into animated world where it's not about act. It's really bizarre and trippy, but it talks about the exact thing that you're talking about.
No, I haven't seen that. That's something maybe to look at. That's really, really interesting. I think it makes a lot of sense money wise. I'm sure the actors fear it quite a bit. Of course, they will have, I'm sure, rights to their own, digital, representation, but it's a crazy.
Not in the Congress, she didn't.
Got to be careful
Aaron,
what contract you sign.
What's your one thing remaining for Terminator Genisys before we move on?
You touched on it. I want to go a little bit deeper. I felt like this movie was franchise set up through and through. I felt like they were looking to expand the universe like Marvel has done and looking to set up more and more movies, and I think the movie suffers deeply for it. I think they underuse characters because they think they've got them for future movies. J.K. Simmons is a perfect example. Great character in the movie, barely there, but in their mind they're going, oh, he's more in the next movie. He's more in, this spinoff or this thing or whatever. And I think the movie overall suffers from the fact that it wants to be part of a larger whole, when if you look at the best expanded universe movies, like the Marvel movies, they are complete storytelling, capsules themselves. They do not depend on being part of a larger universe to work. That stuff informs it and is a bonus and makes it better, but they don't need it to be a great story. And that's something I felt like this movie completely missed the mark on. So I did want to mention that.
I would agree. I would even say, if you take it all the way back to the best Terminator, which is number one, which I think is, there's some arguments between 1 and 2 for people, but I think if you laid it all out, more people would say number 1 is the best. And number 1 was a compartmentalized little indie story. Mm-hmm. A horror movie that, it was designed as a horror movie, not an action movie.
Yep.
Yeah, it was pretty jarring.
And it feels like that's what I was hoping. Well, it's like what the Rocky franchise did, right? When they went back and did Rocky Balboa, they scaled it all back again, got rid of all whatever the commercialism, and just it's a character to start with, and we're taking it right back to that. If they had done something like that, I'd been more interested. But you're right, and that plays into the fact that they were trying to set up a whole new franchise. It watched a little more like a teeny bopper book to film.
Yeah.
Like the one they're all doing right now.
Yeah.
That's
exactly right.
Stay tuned for Terminator, the mocking trials. I don't know, whatever.
Mocking trials.
You heard me.
Mocking Divergent.
Yes. So my last thing, that was comment on that. My last thing I want to say is, speaking of time travel movies that you might like, Predestination. Did you ever see that one? It's fairly new. It's got Ethan Hawke.
No.
It's a little indie, under the radar drama. It's a bit nihilistic, same as 12 Monkeys, in that it's really bold and kind of what it's set out to do. But for you, I would say that's worth a watch. I don't know about the general public if they would like it. If you like time travel movies, it's worth a watch. But if you are angry at time travel movies, it's worth a watch. And it's either going to make you even more angry, or you'll be like, I appreciate what these guys try to do with this one.
Yeah, it sounds like something I would absolutely enjoy. And that, you're right, that does make a great transition into kind of our second topic. I saw a movie this week called Me, Earl, and the Dying Girl. It was raved about at the Sundance Film Festival. It got a standing ovation, won the grand jury prize. Everybody loved it. and it finally came here locally, and so I got a chance to see it this week, and it is a clever and fun and interesting and deep and emotional movie like a lot of these movies are. But what it got me thinking about was, how do these kind of movies find success in a modern blockbuster age where everything seems to have to be big, and like we talk about expanded universes and all that kind of stuff. And we can talk a little bit about the movie itself if you have any questions about it or thoughts about it, or I can go a little bit deeper into it if you want. But I just wonder from you guys, are there movies like that you fall in love with? And, is there a place for those movies, and where is that place?
The internet. Moving on to the next topic. No, I mean, that's such an expansive world, and you're so connected to fans. If you know how to utilize the power of the internet and build community digitally, if you know how to do that and move people that way, you can have a great success with a film. It's just, might not be, well, it depends on what your version of success is.
Yeah,
if your version of
true.
success is blockbuster, then probably not. You might not have major brands backing your whatever you're doing, your project. But,
Sure.
For example, Aaron and I, you've got traditional radio, you've got traditional, kinds of ways to do shows. And then you've got people who are taking a different route because we have a different version or different vision for what we're doing. So,
And we've got our toes dipped in both those oceans.
we do. And so right now, our show happens because our fans support us, because we have people who are willing to go, I love what you guys are doing and I want to make sure it keeps going. And so we're literally supported just like a film could be supported by the fans. So I think if you understand the power that we have just because we can be community digitally, then I like to think that anybody could do it. But I mean, money is important when you have to pay actors and actresses and all that stuff. Josh, what do you think?
Josh, your perspective is really valuable on this too, because you've made a movie, like a
Yeah.
legitimate film.
You've done this.
You've directed.
Legitimate is.
Hey, I saw the movie. It is legitimate. It is very well done.
Here. So there's a few kind of explosion of thoughts actually on this. There is proven success and a proven track record with this, and I think it's still going strong. I think a perfect example right now is the Duplass brothers, who their indie films were so popular, and they've become such a mark on modern society or whatever, the zeitgeist. They've got their own HBO television show now, little family drama. I don't know if it's family. It's the togetherness. So they've actually proven that this is still viable or whatever. And they're like true indie as well. They're not like this movie, Me, Earl, and the Dying Girl, which, by the way, is right up my alley. Like, I love indie film, but I love like coming of age stories. I'm a sucker
you
for
seen
it
it?
every time. No, but the trailer looks amazing.
It's incredible. It is like somebody made a foreign art film that is also an American teenage coming of age drama. Like
I love it.
It's really incredible, and it's self-referential and meta in all the right ways. Yeah, so it's good stuff.
So there's a even a variance in indie cinema. Like with that movie, I haven't seen it, but I'm gonna guess. Do you know what the budget is? 10 million? Maybe?
Yeah, I'm guessing over 10 million.
Okay. So even that versus what the Duplass brothers do, which are always like under, I don't know, $100,000 or whatever, and it's all like scrapped together and put together. And so even within indie film, like Me, Earl, and Dying Girl is probably some of these actors' pet project, because there's a lot of bigger names in some of the supporting roles.
Yes.
So they get behind it. And so that falls into the category of like The Way Back, or what's the oh crap, the one set in the 80s that was the other coming of age. It was really music. Perks of Being a Wallflower.
Okay.
Like these are all, I feel like they're all kind of in that same realm, which is still like
in the horror realm,
a few $1 million.
Yeah, in the horror realm, there was the movie It Follows that came out just a few months ago.
That was a big one. Yeah.
Kind of the same thing. So yeah, I hear what you're saying. There's kind of levels of what's going on, and
there's indie levels.
Yeah.
And then there's YouTube.
That's right.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But I do agree with you, Danae, that that is the future, right? And I think the indie filmmakers are the ones that are going to get there first.
They have to. They have.
Well, they already are in some respect too.
Yeah, you have to. You have to be willing to. If you're passionate about getting out something that is as expensive as making a film, which I'm guessing is expensive because you're saying millions and hundreds of thousands. And guys, I have bills due. I can't do that. But if you're passionate about it and you want it to exist, you have to be willing to use your resources. And your fans on the internet are a huge resource.
So the flip side of that, too, is because you're making these movies for smaller budgets, for a smaller target audience or whatever, you don't need the same, like a success story doesn't have to be, you don't have to have Avengers money coming in to make it a success.
Yeah.
So
I think that's true. It really truly is your definition of success. If your definition of success, is that you make a certain amount of profit after the film, maybe comparatively, percentage-wise, there are equally successful films that just didn't have as big of a budget. Will it reach that wide of people? I mean, probably not, because the gigantic cannonball of media, when you're on like Hollywood level, where you can do all the commercials and all of the radio and all of that, I mean, that's hitting a huge audience. But the long tail, if you've got someone who's extremely passionate about an indie film, they talk about it for the rest of their lives. When some of these other films, like the one we saw today, or they're talking about today, Genisys, it's going to just go in the back of our mind. Hopefully.
Or completely out.
Yeah. I actually have a very first-hand sort of example too, but that might fall better in at the end of the show when we're talking about some, because it's a closer to my heart sort of project, but it definitely falls in this umbrella. But we can save it. I'll talk about it at the end.
Okay. So we're going to move on to a segment here on SiftPop.
It's time for a round of Do We Care?
Do We Care? Super fun. This is when Aaron is sifting through pop culture media, and he reads kind of some stuff going on in the news, and we decide, do we care? You can play along if you're in the chat on Mixlr, and thank you guys again so much for the audience that we have on Mixlr right now, and those who are just streaming, maybe not actually on the Mixlr website and logged in. We can't see your names, but we know you're there.
Brendan and Jennifer have both joined us since we mentioned it, so thank you for coming by.
Thank you guys for stopping in, and for those who are streaming on the podcast, you can always leave comments. We make blog posts about these, so if you had thoughts during that, we would still love to, kind of connect with you. So, do we care? Are you ready to go, Mr.
All right,
Geyser?
so here's what's going to happen. I'm going to read you a pop culture headline, and Danae and Justin, or in the chat.
You mean Josh?
I'm sorry, Josh.
My husband's name is Justin.
Yes.
That's
although if Justin is paying attention, he can answer too.
True.
Or in the chat, you let me know if you want to know more about it, and we will start.
Last time this happened, he actually texted me instead of commenting in the thing. He was like listening, and he was logged into Mixlr, but he texted me instead of I'm like, post it in the chat. And he's like, well, I have your phone number. It's true, you do.
All right, here's the headline. You tell me, do you care? Can you escape this Mission Impossible escape room? Do we care?
Yes.
Marketing, right? So Mission Impossible is putting these escape rooms
like a little
in big
prepackaged
cities. Yeah, it's just like a room, and it's got a lock on it.
Okay.
And they put you in there, and it's like an escape room game where you have to figure out the clues and how to get out.
Josh,
and
have you ever done an escape room? Have you ever?
No, but I did find out we have one here in Nashville.
Okay.
Called Escape Game, I think is what it's called. And it looks like, I just found out about it. It looks fascinating. I really want to do it.
There's one in the Ozarks in Springfield, Missouri called Clue Pursuit. And I've been to that one, and it is so much fun. So I am definitely interested in this. I would say, do we care? Yes, I care.
The thing about these kind of things is I know they don't have the marketing budget for it, but it always seems like it's New York, L.A., and maybe a couple other big cities, and it's like, I don't live there.
I don't live there.
So I can't take part. And so if I look...
you're not the Mission Impossible fan where you're going to drive cross country to be a part of it.
Oh, man, I want to interview that person.
Bonnie in the chat says, yes, she did care about that.
Good. I want to meet that person who is willing to drive all the way across the country to take part in a marketing scheme for a movie they love. It's
like, that's a person they don't need to do it for. Like, he's already going to see that movie.
They're already in. They're
already in.
Well, in case you're wondering, if you live in New York, Boston, San Francisco, or Los Angeles, they will be at the AMC. I think they're in a deal with AMC to do them. So that is one.
So many people just got inspired to rent a pod, like those moving pods.
Yeah.
And just put together their own.
Invent their own escape room.
And so many brothers and sisters are going to be locked in pods now. I was just playing the escape room game, Mom.
That's just called kidnapping. If it's not condoned by an
Please check your
organization.
local law.
And your law enforcement will indeed care.
Yes, they will.
All right.
I left her a clue. It's a Twinkie.
Number 2, PBS puts Finding Your Roots on hold after Affleck debacle. Do we care?
I don't even know what that means. Okay, they put on hold.
I wouldn't keep reading.
Is that clickbait? What is that?
No, it's a show that Ben Affleck was featured in called Finding Your Roots that goes into the genetics of celebrities, like who's in their past.
Well, didn't we already do this once? This was already a TV show.
So I think it is already a TV show, but they're putting it on hold for this season because they took something out about Ben Affleck having slaves as ancestors. They cut it out of the show, and they are getting
flack for it?
Flack for editorial oversight where, it's supposed to be a show that's, more open or whatever. So.
We should know that his, ancestors made a terrible mistake.
Yeah, interesting, right?
Yeah, that's weird.
I agree with Josh. I mean, although, Aaron, technically, you went ahead and told us.
As I will, whether you care or not sometimes. Because at the end of the day, I'm sitting in front of the computer screen.
This does tweak this thing in me where I get frustrated, and I know it's part of our celebrity culture. I know it's just part of cultural in general. We all feel like we have rights to know things about other people.
Yeah.
Everyone has a choice on what they share, and a TV show has a choice in what they share. That's their editorial decision. And an individual has a choice on what they decide to share. And we also live in a world where if somebody wants to dig into public information, they can do that and then exploit you or quote unquote expose these things about you. And I really wish that would go away, and how that goes away is stop clicking on those things, Aaron.
Right.
When you click, but you make a vote for that kind of crap when you do that.
But this is a story about that. It is not that itself, I don't think. This is a story about how our culture is doing that.
But if you're giving it a buzz, if you're clicking it and you're saying, I vote for more stuff like this to be part of what makes it to the top of people's interest.
I gave it power.
You gave it power. Don't do it.
And
Sorry.
he's about to do it again.
I am
on the next
off
thing he asks
my
us.
soapbox. I have removed myself from the soapbox.
You keep that soapbox handy. I love it. All right, so
Hey, can we take a quick step back for a second? Talking about that game. Did you guys? I'm trying to find it. Actually, there's a documentary on Netflix about a huge game in San Francisco that this guy started, and it was a citywide, like where he started dropping these clues all over the city. Are you guys familiar with this at all?
From an airplane?
well, I remember there's an annual competition in San Francisco that is
like a Clue Pursuit type thing, or
but it's
or
across the
Escape
city.
Room?
It's almost like Amazing Race more than Clue Pursuit. It's like
Are they training people for the apocalypse?
This is totally underground. Like, it's a story he was making. It took place over years, where these people would see. It was just, oh god, I gotta find the thing. You keep going, but it is
link us
a fascinating
send
documentary. Like, it was crazy, and I don't remember what it was.
Josh, find it and send it to us, and we'll put it in the show notes.
Okay.
And if you want to access the show notes, go to aaronanddanae.com, and those are usually posted in
tomorrow.
a few. You'll have them up tomorrow, you
Yep.
think? Okay. Those will be posted tomorrow, and you'll be able to take a look at a lot of this stuff, as well as links to these Do We Care articles that you either care about or don't. All right, number 3. Star Wars, first details of what happened between Return of the Jedi and The Force Awakens. Do we care?
No.
Yeah,
Don't
I
care.
care, but I don't want to hear a spoiler.
See, this is interesting to me because this is the kind of spoiler I can get behind, because it's between the two movies.
No.
So it's like stuff that's not going to be shown in the movie.
No. Can I tell you why?
Sure.
No? I feel like if then I have to learn about an entire world.
Right.
That I know so like superficially that I'll then have to begin to understand all of the complexity of the Star Wars world, which I do appreciate. I'm not saying no because I don't appreciate it. I'm saying I don't have the time. I don't have time to learn about it. I wouldn't click on that one.
All right.
I would just be like, cool. I would share that for my friends. Hey,
Very
guys,
nice.
if you want to know about this.
We'll move on then. Number 4, this is why your arms won't get torn off on Disneyland rides. Do we care?
Yes, I'm going to say we do care about why our arms will not be torn from our bodies.
They have a machine that they put on the track that runs and it's called the envelope of protection. And what this machine does is it simulates something beyond what anybody could reach on these rides.
Okay.
And then runs the roller coaster. And it's this crazy looking old machine that has like little wooden like popsicle sticks off the edge.
Okay.
And where the popsicle sticks break off,
there's a problem.
they know there's a problem.
But so this is also why they outlawed the selfie sticks at Disneyland.
Yes.
In the world.
Yes.
Because of
They're very dangerous on rides because they can get caught on so many things and then people can get really hurt.
Yeah, the envelope of protection does not account for the selfie stick.
So surely they do this in more than just Disney. And I'm going to hope because there is a, so again, in the Ozarks of Missouri, there's a theme park called Silver Dollar City.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't know a lot about the Ozarks, it's very wooded. And Silver Dollar City, if you were to look at it from like, Google Maps or Google Earth, and you have it on, you can't see it because it's just
so
trees.
Wooded. Yeah, it's so wooded.
So the roller coasters are like whipping you through the forest, and I do wonder.
Here's the thing about trees.
They grow. Right. This is what I'm saying. It's like they have to have their envelope of protection, regularly. They have to be so careful about
trees grow.
Trees
this is something I have thought about since I'm 6'5". I do think about this.
Me too.
Roller coaster rides. I'm like, there's a minimum size requirement, but there's not a maximum.
They're like, you can put your arms up, and you're like, nope, I'm good.
Can I? Yeah.
I remember riding Space Mountain for the first time and going, I am not safe. Like if I raise my arms, I'm going to be in.
Or if you stretch your spine.
Yeah.
Now, do you inherently like duck on like in doorways and stuff anyway? Because
yes.
That's what I did. That's what I did all those rides. Every time I went to a cave, I ducked just in case.
Yep, absolutely.
I don't have that fear.
So now you know it's called the envelope of protection, and we'll put a picture up in the show notes so you can see this machine.
Thank you, envelope of protection.
For protecting our digits.
Somebody's going to make a movie about the envelope of protection in the future.
Nice. All right.
By the way, I texted you guys
or
tweeted to you guys. It's called The Institute.
Okay.
Very nice.
It's a fascinating documentary.
All right. Final Do We Care headline. Disney's Hollywood studios could undergo $3 billion overhaul to add more Star Wars, Pixar, and Indiana Jones. Do we care?
Yes.
Yeah, I think we care, but I got all the information I want in the headline.
Right. No need to read the article.
I don't need to go into the article. I am thinking about how expensive it must be.
Here's my question.
I want to hear it because I want to know if they are talking any specific plans about Indiana Jones yet, because I'm sure it's not, but that's what would get me to keep reading.
Yeah.
That's my favorite. That's my, like, I love Star Wars, but Indiana Jones is my Star Wars. Like, that's my franchise.
It says the updated park will be dominated by Star Wars, Pixar, and Indiana Jones. By the way, it already is.
Dominated by...
There's not Indiana Jones, is not.
Well, they've got the Stunt Spectacular.
Well, they closed it.
Oh, they did? That's
in
right.
Disney World, they closed it, yeah.
Whoa. I'm glad that I went to go see that last year. Then.
Oh, they do have a picture here of the new Hollywood studios. It is in 3 sections. A Star Wars section, a Pixar section, And then maybe a miscellaneous section that has the Tower of Terror and
The
Rock and Roller
Castaways,
Coast.
the Rejects.
So I don't see where Indiana Jones is.
Womp, womp.
I don't see the Indiana Jones section. Oh, I'm sorry. This is a fan Photoshop, so this is not official.
Oh wow.
Way to go, Aaron.
The other problem with headlines.
That's
Yes.
right. That's absolutely right.
It's written by a 12-year-old.
We'll put the link up so you can read the whole article of course.
And yes,
at the show notes.
12-year-olds know how to use Photoshop.
That is true. They do. I have them.
Well, that was fun. We haven't done one of those in a while.
Yeah, I like the Do We
That was
Care.
fun.
We've also instituted a new way to finish the show every SiftPop called Buried Treasure, since the idea of SiftPop is sifting through pop culture and finding those pop culture nuggets that you want to present to the world. Josh, why don't you present your nuggets first?
Go, Aaron.
Aha! Well, it's a personal nugget, I will say. That sounded weird, didn't it?
You need to run these things by me first. I'm just saying.
It's a tiny personal nugget.
And that's why we're going with Buried Treasure and not Pop Nuggets.
Oh, God.
How is that better?
I agree.
It's just a different part of the anatomy.
This is
So, Josh,
good.
what's your Buried Treasure this week?
All right, so my brother is a actor and a filmmaker as well as myself, and he was part of a movie project last year that they did it, but it's talk about indie film. This is a very small budget indie psychological horror film called Closer to God. I'm gonna put it Closer to God. People can check it out. It's on Twitter or whatever. It is a modern Frankenstein story. It is a story about cloning. It kind of I actually have a small part in the movie, as well as some other other local actors in Nashville. A lot of really great talent. It's when I say local actors, people get like this weird thing, but this is like the top. This is some of the top talent in Nashville. But this is literally the little movie that could. Like, it's a little tiny budget, and they pushed and scrapped and clawed their way, and they actually have opening weekend this weekend at select theaters in town, and it's not a four-walling thing. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the term four-walling, where basically a movie will rent out a theater so that they can say they had a theatrical release.
Right? Yeah.
This is not four-walled at all. Like these theaters around really wanted it. Anyway, the great thing is there's a lot of really awesome reviews and buzz about it.
That's really cool, man.
Ain't it cool news called my brother said his performance was riveting.
Whoa.
But Dread Central, the Daily Herald, LA Times, the Movie Guys, IndieWire, a lot of other publications too, but a lot of these big publications are following the movie and the story.
That's
anyway,
really cool.
If it's in a city close to you, people listening, watching, go check it out. It's a pretty spectacular movie.
Give us the name again.
It's called Closer to God, but my brother is the lead in it, and he's also one of the producers on it. And it has been a labor of love for him for the last, I'm going to say,
Very cool.
He and the director Billy Sinise, and there's a lot of other people involved too. But they've been working on it for a couple of years now, and it's really good for them.
Your brother Jeremy, right?
Yes, I didn't mention that. Jeremy Childs is my brother.
So your brother Jeremy, my first interaction with him, I was at a summer camp, and he was in a group that was doing drama, and he did some sort of skit about like a dating application thing or whatever.
Oh, nice.
And he blew my mind. He is a phenomenal actor. Like, in just being in that room, just like he became another character. It really was one of the first things that kind of turned me on to the power of in-person acting. And I don't know if I've ever shared that story with you, but it was really kind of one of those moments where I was like, wow, that's cool that people can do that, So
well, he's the reason that I became an actor as well. So blessing or a curse, that's on him.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right, Danae, what's your buried treasure?
I have none.
Really?
I can't think of anything.
Ooh. Okay. Hey, can I say that I did watch read the first story in of the thing you mentioned last time.
Gunner Craig?
Gunnar Craig. I read the first book.
How did you like that?
I did like it by the time it was done. It grew on me.
Yeah.
At the beginning, I was like, "These are, what am I like? That's not a story, is it?" And then I realized, and I'm like, "Oh, okay. It's all."
That's how webcomics work.
It's a slow burn. But I loved it. Yeah.
Yes.
So I'm anxious to get back to it. It actually inspired me to go, "Hey, I wonder if I can make my own webcomic."
There are some really incredible webcomics, and I am passionate about that for sure.
Got one you want to throw out there for your buried treasure?
I don't want to call it buried treasure. I am not adding to this buried treasure thing. This is uncomfortable and strange.
Fine. You get to name things from now on.
My plug would be, that sounds weird too now. Everything's just going to sound weird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Shout out.
My digital shout out.
I was just comparing it to the idea of SiftPop.
I get it.
Through something yeah.
I just have such a dirty mind. It's my fault. No, I really couldn't think of anything. I've got nothing new. Like my pop culture world is, video game playing and.
Shout it out if you want to. I'm going with a TV show that's been around for a long time, and it's actually kind of one of my pet things when a show's been around a while, but people have fallen off. If it's still good, I like to let people know I think it's still good. I think Big Brother is still a fun show to watch. It is a reality show that if you don't know about it, it's basically cameras are on all the time on these people, and it's kind of a psychological experiment about how humans interact in a kind of in a trapped enclosed
confined
space.
in a space together.
Yeah. And there not only is some really great human psychology that happens on this, but over the years, the show has gotten away from the titillation aspect of what they do and geared more on the gameplay and kind of the chess match of the whole thing. And that's what I love. And so it's really fun because it is the reality show that is based on always changing the game. So like it's a twist every week. Something different's happening with how they're voting people off or who's in charge or those kind of things. And so the chess match is always evolving for these players. And it's a show that I think a lot of people gave up on because it was so focused on, the bikinis and the bodies in the first couple seasons. And now that's such in the background. So it's kind of
go to Survivor for that. They're starving themselves.
Can I take Danae's shout out?
Do it.
So you saying that reminded me, I just finished another series on Netflix called The Story of Film and Odyssey. And it is the best film class that you can take without having to go to a film class. This guy, it's just this documentary series, 15 episodes, and it covers basically the history of film from like the beginning, the first time somebody waved at a camera, to people getting freaked out that a train was barreling towards them on a camera, all the way through like the first cut in a film to the first, jump cut to the first whatever, and all the different styles and who influenced who and what shot was, all this stuff all the way up to, the 2000s. It was like candy. I finished it and immediately went back and started playing it again from the beginning.
Cool.
Only this time with a notebook because it is fat. If you love film, like this is the most extensive love song to film that I've ever witnessed.
Great. And it's on Netflix. And what's it called again?
The Story of Film and Odyssey. I will say once you hit the 70s and beyond, because they're talking about all genres of film, like they start getting into some of the weird stuff. And so there's some images that you would never watch this movie, and you see these images from these movies and you're like, oh crap, that's burned in my brain forever. But the original, like the early stuff, especially if you're mindful of that and know like, hey, I don't really want to see, ants coming out of somebody's hand or something, or Jodorowsky, he's a weird filmmaker, but Jodorowsky's films, there's some of that stuff when you hit from the 70s on, but it's still like totally fascinating, totally worth it.
Cool. Brenton from the chat says his boys love adventures in Odyssey, but that's probably something different.
It's probably something different. Although I think I know one of the guys who writes for that. Actually.
Do you really? That's kind of cool. That's kind of cool.
I think that's what he writes for. Anyway.
Very cool.
That's my shout out. Thank you, Danae, for letting me have your shout out.
Hey, no problem.
It's called Buried Treasure, so I don't know why you guys keep calling it shout outs.
Hey, thank you for giving me your buried treasure.
See, there are problems with that.
No.
Well, here we are at the end of the podcast. Sad times for all.
Hey, we didn't get a chance to really remind people about kind of where to connect with us and how to support the show. So why don't you throw that out there?
This show is entirely funded by our fans at patreon.com. Thank you so much for giving your $1 a month, $3 a month, $10, $30. We've got people giving at all these different levels. And there's more to come. In fact, when we get to our next goal, which is $50 more a month as of the recording today, we are going to be doing some fun stuff with that. You can read about that at patreon.com/Aaron and Danae. In fact, if you want to go to our website, there's all kinds of links there to past shows and show notes. More about what Aaron and I do at aaronanddanae.com.
We're live on Mixlr every Tuesday and Friday right now at noon. Or you can search for Shoe the Dough at iTunes or Stitcher. And while you're there, if you wouldn't mind subscribing, making a comment, all that kind of fun stuff, we would absolutely appreciate it. Josh, you got anything else you want to say before you turn off the microphones?
Thanks for letting me come play with you guys. I have a blast.
We're glad to have you. We love having you on as our geek.
That is absolutely
our
true.
rotational geek.
There you go.
Thank you guys again for coming over to another episode of Shoe the Dough Live. Fridays is for SiftPop, pop culture. If you have any other questions or comments, leave them for us somewhere. We will find them.
Hey, Josh, do you mind sticking around and talking like spoilers from Terminator Genisys, and maybe we can offer that up on Patreon to our Patreon supporters? You mind doing that?
Yes. Oh, wait, I mean, no.
That's right, no.
Spoilers. I love spoiling.
Are we going to talk about the helicopters?
Nice. Well, we'll make sure and do that. If you want to access the bonus content, just go to our Patreon page, and then we'll have it up for anybody that supports us. We'll be able to access that, and we'll talk all about Terminator Genisys and all throughout
Things we didn't get into.
Yeah.
Spoiler alerts, there are Terminators in the Terminator movie.
Whoa, Josh, save it for the extras.
Sorry. Sorry.